We had a suicide attempt in the family. Another family member ended up in the criminal justice system because of a mental health outburst. My wife and I were trying to keep our family afloat, and then my boss called me into her office. I asked for help for the first time in my life, and that really changed everything. I joined Johnson & Johnson as an international government affairs leader. I spent the better part of 20 years traveling the world. I remember I was getting on a United flight once, and the person at the gate handed me a handwritten letter from the CEO of United thanking me for all of my business. And that was probably the first sign that I was traveling way too much. And then on the home front, my wife and I had 3 children. In the early days, we were doing a lot of soccer games and piano lessons and schools. It was extremely busy and I think fulfilling time, but our family started to have some mental health challenges. I think when you have young children and a mental health issue first presents itself, you hope it's a phase, you think it's a developmental issue, and so you try to provide support that can get them through this, what you hope is a brief phase, and get them back into growth and comfort. Years later, they started to all reach a crisis almost all at once. The family was under a lot of stress, so there was a lot of trauma-related anxiety and depression. It's very hard to focus on the work. When you go to bed at night worrying about whether your child's going to be alive in the morning, it's exhausting. We kept it to ourselves and just tried to keep a good face at work and continue to try to perform at a high level. In the middle of all these mental health crises, I was called in and I was told my position was being eliminated. In fact, getting let go was the 3rd worst thing that happened to me that day. My daughter was coming out of a residential program that day, and my son was about to be arrested for a mental health crisis that he had. No surprise, one of the reasons for letting me go was performance issues. This was the first time I was let go from a position, so I think it's fair to say I was in a state of shock. Yeah, I felt very lost. At one point, I realized I needed help. I couldn't navigate this. I didn't have the emotional reserves and the professional network to get this done. And I called my friends and family and mentors. I said, I really need help. I can't do this on my own. So among the people that I talked to were Johnson & Johnson colleagues and senior executives. There was a recognition that I had some performance issues that were related to the mental health struggles that my family was going through. And I think there was a beginning understanding that if my family had cancer, they would have carved out space for me to deal with my family's struggles and then come back to work in a more full-time, committed way. And then something really unexpected happened. When I would sit down with a senior executive, almost all of them got up and closed the office door and told me their personal story. And half of these senior executives wept openly, just the relief of being able to tell their family story. So I think there was a sense that what looked on the surface as just Craig's performance issue was really a systemic problem in the company that I maybe was uniquely suited to address. They gave me a second chance. Where we teach our young children who are on the front lines of this epidemic as much about their mental health as we now teach them about their dental health. So working with Johnson & Johnson senior leadership, we created a position, the Mental Health Ambassador, which originally was meant to be facing externally, how can we change the health system? But very quickly became faced internally as well. How do we help our employees and their families? Nothing would have changed if I had not started talking about my challenges. The tradition of keeping personal and professional lives separate, I think we now understand, especially in the mental health space, has led to untold tragedy and trauma. Corporations will lose very good employees because they simply didn't take the time to give them the support they need at a moment when they need that support the most. At the same time, I always caution employees that They don't need to share everything about their mental health struggles. In order to support you, we want to make sure that we understand enough about your situation that we can provide you the support you need. This is not a flaw in character, but it's really about chemistry and community. Our family is in a very good place right now. We take nothing for granted. We work every day on our emotional and mental well-being, but we feel very blessed to all be part of this movement to try to transform mental health care worldwide.